What's up, guys? My name is Kayla Bundy and Olivia, and welcome back to the Finding Hope podcast. On today's episode, I have one of my day one besties. We met literally day one. I think we were eight or nine when we met. We met dancing our little butts off
many decades ago
in pink tights and a leotard. The best way to ever meet your best friend.
The most vulnerable.
The most vulnerable.
And memorable.
Olivia's definitely seen me through the highs and the extreme lows since, my first, my first moment into puberty until here I am now.
I feel like when you meet someone when you're a child and you see them go through literally every stage of life and you stick it through and you help each other through all those phases of life, you got a friend for life.
You got a friend for life, especially when you don't know what you're doing either. Both of us were trying to help one another without knowing what to do.
And we're also so different. And so the advice we would give one another was a great different perspective than we would ever see. And I think that's why we work. Because we're kind of opposites in a lot of ways, but I think we kind of visualize life the same way. And you have perspectives that I would never come to realize on my own. And vice versa.
No, literally. And that's what I love about our friendship is because I think we both really had to okay, let me put myself in your shoes to be able to help you because we are very different in ways. So that was so helpful. And I remember a little story time before we dive in. I remember there was one time, which I don't know if you'll remember this, but there was one time, this was back in my angry days where I didn't know how to process an ounce of how I felt.
I remember it so fondly.
And I just remember I was going, drama was happening in my family, and it was a lot of buildup, and I just exploded, and I didn't know what to do. And I was I didn't have my license at this point, I don't think. And I remember calling Olivia, just bawling, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I couldn't even say, I just didn't know. But she was such a good friend, and she lives 30 minutes from me.
Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm coming to you." And so she came, she picked me up, we went and did stuff. I still don't ever remember if I ever told her what had happened or not, because I didn't know how to process anything. But it was those pivotal moments where I was like, wow, she's really there for me.
What a real one.
What a real one.
I think one time I actually called you and I just started crying and I hung up. And you were like, "What's wrong?" And I just hung up. Spoiler alert. We're not good at voicing our feelings.
We've improved.
She's way better than I am, actually. You have improved. I have too, but you've improved exponentially.
Thank you.
I still need help.
But yeah, no, there's hope that with your friends, even if you don't know what to say, the ones that still try to do whatever they can, not knowing anything, those are your people.
If you just know that they need you to be there for them, you're a good friend.
You're a good friend.
Like Kayla said, I don't remember her ever voicing what was actually wrong.
I don't think I did.
But I was there for her because that's what she needed. So I think were we in high school?
I don't know if I was in high school yet. She was a grade above me. Oh, I had to have been in high school. Yeah. Wow, I really didn't know what I was doing even in my high school years. I always thought I did.
It's all a blur together.
So speaking of high school, and this goes into our topic, all things love, romance, breakups, all the boy drama.
Yes.
We are here for it. We are your girls to talk with.
This is my favorite topic.
Olivia is the best when it comes to boy stuff. It can be the smallest thing, and we can spend 5 hours talking about every single detail just for the fun of it and make it so dramatic, and it's really funny.
So the thing about Kayla and I and our friendship, our long-standing friendship, obviously when we were younger, elementary school, middle school, high school, we saw each other every day, gave each other rundowns of our lives every day. Yeah. We now live in different states.
And we have for like 6 years.
And we have for a long time. So now our catch-ups are like bi-monthly, and they're just like 5-hour long stretches of us just being like, okay, this is what happened. This is how I feel. This is this person. This is this person. And that's just kind of how we do.
It's the nature.
So if I've ever encountered a boy in any span of my life, Kayla has been given the full rundown.
The full, and vice versa. Like, I won't call Olivia unless I know I have 5 or 6 hours to just dive deep. And if anyone's ever dated me, she knows everything.
I hate to break it to you. Also, vice versa.
Vice versa. We have been through each other's, like, I feel like biggest heartbreaks, our first loves, our like first dates, our all of these like first new things.
The ones that got away.
The ones we like were still wanting, all of everything. Mm-hmm. And it's been so nice to like have a friend to go through that with. Like, should we start with the Q&A? For this week's segment, before we dive into the episode, I'm going to give a few recommendations of things that have helped me so much in my romantic life. And the first one, the number one, is, it changed my life, my whole family's. It's called Relationship Goals.
Oh my God.
And
I've heard all about relationship goals.
Olivia's like,
I've heard some relationship goals.
I don't think she's ever even seen it, but she could probably quote it because of how much I talked about it.
Oh yeah.
But it's on YouTube, literally absolutely phenomenal. I like can't recommend it enough. He has a book too, and it's Michael Todd. The second one is a book called Boundaries. Absolutely love that one. That is so helpful for every relationship in your life and for yourself. And the third one is from Olivia Pageau, and it's
the 5 Love Languages book. It is a book. Hi, fun fact. It's not just a quiz you take online. I highly recommend. It's very eye-opening. I read it like twice in college. Let me get something so straight. I'm 26 years old. I've seen it all, okay? I've lived some life. Luckily, I will say, I have found someone who is completely my other half. Love more than life. A gem of a human. But it took me a lot to get to this point.
But yeah, no, Olivia is in the most adorable relationship. We absolutely are a big fan of him. They're so precious together. He's lovely.
He's lovely.
You guys are a dream team.
And even though I'm certain that I'm probably in the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, it still comes with hardship, work, not boundaries, hurdles, all that stuff.
Lots of just things that, I mean, in friendship, I feel like you're always going to have those things, and that doesn't make it any different when it comes to a relationship. I think the big thing with you guys is you have a healthy relationship. And so yes, you have like struggles, you have your moments, but I think compared to like more toxic ones that we've been in, it's way different having those problems to work through when the relationship itself is really healthy.
And also going off that, I don't think I would be as successful in this relationship if I hadn't gone through everything I had.
So we're going to start by answering some of your questions. Starting off with this question. It says, I don't want to come off as annoying to him. So do I say good night or good morning? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. As I said, I'm 26 years old. My real opinion on this is like, it's not that deep. It's not. Like, when you think about texting, that is so surface level. And if you're having issues with the texting aspect, I think we need to dive deeper as to like, why are you so worried about this person's little opinion about XYZ? You know, like maybe if there's not effort on their end, and that's just what it is. But I don't think you should be so hung up on, should I say good morning or should I not? Are they going to even talk to me if I do instigate the conversation? Like, what does that mean on a bigger picture? If you're worried about, you know, annoying them or whatever, maybe that's a bad sign. I don't know.
Yeah, if you think that's going to annoy them, just texting them and saying something, then probably not the most. And, I mean, that also could be an insecurity thing on the texter's end as well. Like, are you so in your head about sending that text because you don't feel like you're worthy, or you don't feel confident, or you feel like, I don't know, you have these other things that you're bringing into it? I think with any decision you're going to make, whether it's texting, phone calls, anything like that, just be confident in it. If you feel like that's what you want to do, then do it. If you don't, then don't. I wouldn't overthink those things. I agree with that. Next question. How does someone get back out there after getting broken up with in a long relationship? Do you want to start?
I've done this. So I'm going to tell you what I did and why it was wrong, okay? I would love to be the person that's like, get back out there, meet all these people, download a dating app, blah, blah, blah. But like, after my long-term relationship ended, it was very, very daunting for me to meet new people, just because I think the biggest fear that I had was that I was so afraid of change. And I had such a comfort zone and things I was so used to for so long. The idea of meeting someone new is just something I didn't even want to consider. I wish I would have been more open to the possibility of what could be, and not just thinking worst case scenario. Because like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You're gonna learn more about yourself. The first person that I had met as like a prospective romantic relationship, whatever you want to call it, I was like, X who? And that made me feel a lot better. So I'm not saying, go out every night, meet all these people, do all these things, experiment, whatever. There's a piece to that is true, though. Have confidence in yourself to not think worst case scenario and not be so afraid of change. Because I'm so grateful that my head turned as soon as it did once I allowed myself to do that. Because it started with me. So don't be scared. I know it's scary, but just have confidence in yourself, work on yourself, and just be open to whatever could be out there. Even if it's not a new person, maybe it's a new hobby.
I think along with that, when I've been there, done that, I think for me, how I've always been is once I get out of a long-term relationship, I know that I have so much to heal from. And so like for me, I won't even look at another person until I feel like I'm getting over it and I'm healing, because I don't want to bring in my past things to somebody else. In my previous experience, at that point, if it's been a long-term relationship, my life has become so intertwined with theirs that I don't really feel like I have a full life on my own. I still have a life 100%, but a big part of that was connected to theirs. So being able to like take each and every day on and focus on, okay, how do I have my own life? How do I build my own life? How do I create either like new experiences, new memories, new things that I enjoy? What do I like about myself, or what do I like doing on my own when I don't have that person or anybody around? So I think that's like always been so helpful for me. But then I think also with what Olivia said, there was one time I got out of like worst relationship of my life because there was just, I had never experienced love like that. And I was so deeply invested. And I got out of the relationship. It was really toxic. And I was not in a place to like even consider a new relationship. I was definitely like still healing on my own. But I randomly decided to like say yes to going on this date. And I almost canceled a million times because I was like, I'm not ready. I'm not healed. Like, I'm not in that place. But then I had to talk myself and be like, okay, just because you go on a date doesn't mean you're committing to anything. And like, you don't have to be ready. It's okay to just see what's out there. And that day, honestly, was so healing for me. We like really never talked after that, but it was so nice to see like the day ended up being like amazing, and I wasn't interested in the guy, but in the ways that he treated me, it was so opposite than my previous relationship that it opened up my eyes to be like, oh my gosh, these things were so normal that he did for me, whereas like it would have been a miracle if my ex had done that. Yeah. And so it helped me it honestly helped with the healing and being like, okay, like clearly the long-term relationship didn't work in whatever ways that is for you, but know that like, okay, I was able to find something in somebody almost immediately that already filled so many holes that I didn't even realize my relationship had.
I feel like we had a very similar experience in that sense. And so I feel like that like idea of like being open to what could be out there no matter what it be is like kind of resonated with both of us.
For sure. I feel like that kind of goes along with the next question. It says, I haven't been dating while focusing on my career for 5 years. How do I get started? I would say if you're not getting over somebody and it's been more of a career thing, I relate to that a lot because I feel like lately in my life, career has been my main focus and like dating really isn't a thought in my brain. But I would say to get out there, I think if you've spent so much time on yourself and building a career for yourself, then you already know your worth. And I think you're honestly stepping into it in a way better place because you have so much confidence, already creating such an independent life for yourself. I would say to get started in it, think about what do you want in a partner that is going to add to your life and not compromising anything or feeling the need to settle. Because I think when you've put in that much work in yourself and what you're doing, then it's definitely like you probably know yourself way more than you did before. And so I think your standards and what you'd expect from a partner now versus 5 years ago are going to be drastically different. So I wouldn't hold yourself to your previous expectations. I would create these new expectations for you, the life you have moving forward. What would you say? Because I feel like you're going to have a different sort of answer.
This is hard for me. So I feel like the only thing that I can speak to on this is that no one knows you better than you, and your approach to life, your experiences, the person you came to be. And I feel like every time I've like taken a break from dating to focus on this, that's when like I've most organically met new people to date and get to know. So I don't think really going out there and making a huge effort to make sure you're dating left and right is the path for everybody. If you want to do that,
go for it.
Go for it. Ask your friends to set you up with somebody. Do whatever. But I think just kind of letting things naturally happen is the best thing you can hope for. Be the person who says yes. So if a friend invites you to go out, go to this place, say yes. If you're invited to a party and new people might be there, say yes. Just be a yes person so that you're out there at least practicing meeting new people. And maybe you will meet someone new.
I'll let Olivia take this one. It says, are you in a relationship? If so, what's your secret to keeping it strong? I'm not, so this is all Olivia.
What is my secret to keeping it strong? Gee
whiz.
Actually, you know what? I think I have a good answer.
Okay, good.
Okay. So I feel like the best relationships I've had, current, long, short, flings, relationships that have turned into friendships, all of the things that those relationships have in common are the fact that I can sit with that person and just talk to them like a friend. I'm a big fan of like hypothetical questions, like
they're fine.
Like if you're having 4 friends over and you have $20 to spend at Walmart or whatever, what do you buy? You know, things like that. You know, if you were a sandwich, what would you be? Just stupid things like that. And it sounds dumb, but like that sparks a lot of really great conversation. So I feel like the secret to having a relationship that you feel strong in is just being able to talk. Just being able to talk like friends. Because I think back to relationships that didn't end up working out, we didn't really have like a friendship level of banter.
Yeah.
You know,
completely.
it was always heavy. It was always, you know, this is my problem with you. What do you want to do tonight?
Fun.
Let's just sit and watch TV. Like, you know, and you need to be with somebody who you can actually talk to and 100%. You don't get bored with, and you have no dead ends when it comes to conversation.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. And I think like in my friendships, because clearly my romantic life isn't a complete success at the moment, but I think within friendships, why like my friendships have stayed so strong is very similar. There's a lot of communication, and I think in the relationships that haven't worked out when they have been long term is the communication wasn't what it should have been, and the reciprocation wasn't what it should have been. And I think that's so important in any lasting relationship, is that there's the fun conversations, there's the honest ones, there's the hard ones, there's every form that you can think of that is being able to be had in a really good, healthy way. And the other person is wanting that as well. When the other person isn't wanting that, or isn't willing to put in the work to get there, then I think it's almost impossible to have a long, good, strong relationship.
Yeah.
Next question. Why is it easier to forgive someone than to forget them? I think it's a lot easier because when you're just trying to forget them and you haven't forgiven things, you're holding on to all this resentment. And I think in general, like, not being able to forgive, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer, because you're the one that's still hurting from everything. And when you're just trying to erase that memory and erase those times, or have this like bitterness towards that person, all it's doing is just putting Band-Aids over those wounds in your heart, and nothing's ever getting healed and restored. So I think for me, like, I've never been bitter towards anybody I've ever dated. I like can't even imagine that. I was talking to my mom about that the other day because we were listening to this girl, and she like has a lot of hatred towards her exes. And I was like, I just can't even imagine that, because I feel like every time I've left a relationship, my biggest thing is like, it's hard for me to leave because I want to make sure that I'm able to like help their life and like make sure they have the best life possible. And when I leave, I feel bad and like I resent myself for leaving them alone to figure that out. So I think like for me, I've never really struggled with like the bitterness part, but I would say being able to forgive yourself. That has been my biggest thing. Like the thing that has taken me the longest to heal is being able to forgive myself for these things and not put the blame on me, but then also being able to extend that forgiveness to the other person, because just trying to force that out of your life and out of your system, it's not taking care of any of the real pain that's going on.
So I have been bitter towards exes, and that's obviously not good. And I think you gave really great advice, which I would not be able to give.
I do think, though, that is very valid, being bitter. I wouldn't feel if you feel that way, I wouldn't invalidate that, because if you are bitter, like there was a lot you went through that was so wrong and you never should have gone through.
And a lot of it like was suppressed and never handled in a healthy way, which is why I feel like this question kind of hits home for me. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the fear of change is what kept me from fully forgiving that person. Because I'd rather just like suppress everything, not acknowledge it, and then just move along like nothing happened, rather than really deal with it. It was so easy for me to just kind of move on, suppress it, not deal with it in real time, and talk about how it makes you feel. Because that historically, and it still is a lot of the time, hard for me to voice. And so I feel like rather than dealing with it in real time and actively trying to forgive, it just wasn't easy for me because I was so scared of the what if. And being open to change is so important. It's literally so important.
So important.
I can't express how much that has been important to me in my life, and how I think that held me back in so many ways. So,
and I love what you said about that earlier, how you said, like, being open to change, like, what's the worst that can happen? You learn more about yourself.
Yeah.
I loved you saying that because, yeah, even if, like, you're open to change and it doesn't go the way you want, okay, well, then you've learned that's not what I want. Like,
yeah,
you can start navigating things. And in relationships, too, like, being open to change. Like, maybe you were used to things in a previous relationship that are different in a new relationship, and not holding on to those things as, like, it has to be this way, but being open to change.
Take it from your Aunt Liv, okay? I have a life lesson for all of you. Each person that you encounter, romantically or whatever, you are going to learn something from that relationship, okay? So just be open to the possibility of it not working. Not every relationship has to be the end-all be-all. They don't all have to be perfect. Anything can happen. I've had people that I've gotten to know that have turned into great friends. I've had people that I've gotten to know that have blocked me on Instagram.
We've all done it.
So each person that comes in your life truly serves as a lesson. And I think you should be open to that.
For sure. And I think, too, a thought that just popped in my head is the whole, like, concept of being open to change. I think a big reason, like, I haven't been wanting to date right now, like, I got out of, like, a really long-term relationship. It's been a while now. It's been, like, at least a year and a half. And I haven't been wanting to, like, step into a new one. And it's because over this course of time, I've really been pushing myself out of my comfort zones and really learning new things about me. And I did that for many reasons. One, to heal, but also because my, like, past dating record, it hasn't been successful. And so even if there's a new person, if I'm the same me, that doesn't mean that the outcome's ever going to be better. And so I think, like, the big reason why I've been really pushing myself out of my comfort zone and pushing myself to learn about myself more is because the more I know myself, like, I'm going to enter into each new relationship a very different and healthier version. And if you never push yourself and things don't change in your life, and this can have nothing to do with boys. Like, there have been so much that I've done in my life that it could be hiking, it could be nature, it could be just random crafts or things that I pick up. And those things are just creating new thought patterns in my mind. And it's those small changes that are shaping me into more of who I truly am. And so I have loved this time in my life of being able to solely focus on myself, because I know, like, who I am now is entirely different than who I was when I entered in that previous relationship. And I want to keep pushing myself to change and be open to change in new ways, so that, like, when I do meet the person, I'm attracting somebody I actually want to be with, and not for who I once was, if that makes sense. Because I think when you just keep jumping, you're constantly attracting, like, the same sort of person.
That totally makes sense. And I've seen it in friends of my own that haven't taken the time to actually learn to be on their own and better themselves before re-entering into the next relationship. And, like, people have heard this so many times, and I hate that I'm saying it, but it's so true. If you stop looking, at the right time, the right person will show up in your life. And, like, that's something we've all heard a million times, but, like, it's true. I've spent plenty of time alone over the past few years learning about myself, not even acknowledging the fact that men were out there.
Oh, 100%. Both of us, I feel like we are similar in this way, where, like, after we've been in a relationship, we will go years on a hiatus. Like,
we're done.
Years. And then, like, and that's why it's so funny, because whenever we, like, catch up about boys, up until, like, her relationship now, it would be like, oh, yeah, like, you know, I talked to this guy for a second. Like, we wouldn't even go on a date or something, but we would just, like, already have written them off. Like,
yeah,
we have learned how to be on our own. And I do think that is, like, why, because Olivia, she didn't jump from, like, relationship to relationship.
No.
But you had a healthy mindset of, like, you would be open to, like, going on a date here and there. And that's been helpful for me to see, because, like, now I've been like, okay, instead of being like, beforehand, when I would get out of relationships, I would literally just like, I wouldn't look at a man for years. Literally. And so now I'm like, it's okay if I go on a date here and there. Like,
what would Olivia do?
What would Olivia do? What would Olivia do?
Olivia would say, I'm bored. I want something.
Go for the story.
I want something a little messy.
Let's get a little.
And I have said that. Do it for the story.
She said that so many times. Like, I'll call her about something and I'll be like, oh, I just don't know. And she's like, do it for the story. Like,
you're going to get a good story out of it. If you go, if you don't learn something about yourself, you're going to get a great story out of it. That will make me laugh. So
yeah, do it for your girlfriends for your next sleepover. Like, if anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then the last question is, what is love to you?
That's so deep.
I feel like for me, it has drastically changed over the years. And if I am asked this question in a year, my answer might be different as well.
Yeah.
But I think in the current place in my life, I think love to me is being understood, being on the same team.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Seeing the person's best intentions behind everything and knowing how not to take things personally. I think with those things, I feel so cared for. And I felt that through my family, through friends. I felt that through guys in my life, whether it's been romantic or not. I think like when I've experienced all of those, that is where I feel truly loved. And I think when I'm able to be that for anybody else, friends, family, relationships that are romantic, like I feel like I can't love them in a better way. And obviously, like when it comes to each individual person, there's things that I'll like add or take away because everybody's so different. But that's kind of like my core of like, that's what love is to me.
Love, to me personally, I think it's rooted in those like hard foundations that you were talking about. Trust, loyalty.
Gotta have trust and loyalty. Those are the basics.
Also, just like respect. Like that sounds like something so simple.
I feel like I think I might like your answer better.
It's so unfortunate, but I've been in so many situations where I just like didn't feel respected. And like, it's such a 180 when you find someone or get to know someone that truly sees you as someone who is a light in their life and treats you that way. It is a drastic difference. So, and also like, obviously, respect your counterpart.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to be the most important person in your life, they have to trust you. You have to respect them. There has to be loyalty between you. All those foundational things that you have to build. And also, what I was saying earlier, build a friendship.
Yeah.
Have like a friendship basis so that when you peel back the layers of like the affection and the like lovey whatever, you have like an actual need for that person in your life as like a friend, you know?
Yeah.
Because really like the best relationships that I've encountered or I've seen from others are those couples that can literally just be each other's best friend. And like it's cheesy to say, but like build upon that. Not saying you have to be friends first, but when you peel back the layers, there has to be some level of mutual love and respect that like friends would have.
No, that's like for sure my ideal relationship, to just like be with my best friend. Because if you're best friends with somebody and then there's a romantic layer on top, I'm like, wow. That's all I want.
Doesn't it sound nice?
Sounds nice. Sounds great. Wonder what it's like for you. No, I think that's great advice. Honestly, I feel like, your answer, I might take your answer instead. That's great advice.
Take it, everyone.
This is a question I have for Olivia, written in by Kayla Bundy.
No.
What is your funniest date story?
Okay, so this is embarrassing. But it's really funny when I think back on it. So for a few years, I lived in another part of the state, like very separate from like anywhere I'd ever lived before. And I basically, when you like tag along with a new friend and just kind of like be friends with their friends. So I had a friend in the area that I was living in, and he kind of introduced me to like his group of friends. I just started hanging out with them. And there was a guy who I like kind of knew from college in that friend group. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to get to know him. He's really cute. He seems funny, blah, blah, blah. And so I was hanging out with this group of friends one night. We went to like a bonfire or something. I don't even remember. And this was so long ago. I don't even remember how it went down. But for whatever reason, at this like friend hangout, this wasn't a date, but we were flirting back and forth. And I like gave him my business card. And I was like, text me or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Or send me your resume. Because I'm a professional.
I'm a professional.
And this man sent me a boyfriend resume.
Stop it.
And a cover letter. And like, I'm not kidding.
Take notes.
It almost worked. It almost worked.
That is the funniest thing.
I don't know if I still have it, but it was so funny. And I just like, oh my God. It obviously, it didn't end up working out. But
that's
the
hilarious.
fact that a man sat down and took time to like come up with this hilarious boyfriend resume, it almost worked. And I'm not saying you should all do it, but like cute little funny things like that, key to my heart.
Key. That's some like big points right there.
He ended up sending me a weird DM on Instagram, and I was like, oh, maybe this
Then you got the egg.
I got the egg really fast. And so it didn't end up working out for that reason. But that like is a standout memory from like my dating days. What is something that you would tell your younger previous dating self when she was going through the hardest time?
I would say sis. Listen to your gut. Yeah. And nothing else.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I think when it came to boundaries, when it came to saying yes to guys, when it came to anything, I mean, we all have that gut instinct. And so many times I have just been like, but there's potential there. Or, yeah, it's not everything I want. Like, I kind of have this gut feeling it's not going to work out, but I want to see where it goes. Or, like, even in small things where I didn't stand my ground and I couldn't say no for myself, like, I would have been like, honey, trust your gut and the right things will come to you. Because I would have avoided so much pain and heartache and toxicity and all the things, which I definitely don't regret. But moving forward, what I'm really trying to do is listen to your gut, because every time I've looked back on something, I had that gut response almost immediately, and I just tried to ignore it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't that suck?
It sucks.
After my, like, first real breakup, I came to a lot of realizations that were going on during my past relationship that I would never stand for in the future. But like, I was young, I was stupid. I probably did things wrong too. But I've said this so many times, I feel like, but I wish I could take that young version of myself and like shake her and being like, stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's so huge. Like, same with the gut feeling.
Yeah.
If you know you're unhappy, if you know something's wrong and you're scared of change, scared of what that person might do, scared of meeting new people, whatever, just be strong and stay true to yourself. Stand up for yourself. For women, it's so easy to just push things over, let things be, not bring up issues, problems, emotions, feelings you have.
Yeah.
But be that person who's assertive and demand respect.
Yes. Yes, queen.
Ask questions. Be honest. Ask for honesty in return.
Yeah. 100%.
That's so huge. Younger me, never stood her ground.
No, I didn't either.
Do it, sis.
Do it. Do better than we did, please. You will be way better than us if you just, if you stand your ground. I love that. And I think, too, like, that goes with knowing when to leave. Because I always felt like,
oh, my God.
Oh, I'm not, unless there's something major and horrible that happens, like, of course I'm going to work anything out. sometimes you don't always need to work it out. Sometimes you just stand your ground and that's all.
I stayed in a relationship probably a year longer than I should have.
Yeah, me too.
It wasn't,
I would say with all of them, yeah, me too.
That is like the exact version of myself that I would love to just like sit down and give a heart-to-heart to, because she needed that advice, because that relationship truly, and I know we're thinking of each other. And like the things I was telling my friends, I was literally saying, I'm not happy. I wish he would do this. I wish things were different, blah, blah, blah. And they're all probably like, girl, leave.
Just leave. Just say it. Like, you don't
need to say.
But I was
scared. But like knowing the world that was waiting for me,
I would have left so long ago.
I would have ran.
I would have ran into that bright light.
I would have just stripped everything and run through a meadow of flowers.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on. You'll probably see Olivia on every 6 months, because that's about how often I see her. So she will be back again.
Yay! Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your wisdom and advice. And
of course.
Good luck out there dating, you guys. It's brutal, but there's such a light.
We're here for you.
Yeah, we're here for you.
We're sending you a hug. We know it sucks. We know it's hard.
But you can do it.
But you can do it.
You'll be fine.
You will learn and you will grow and you will be a better person because of it.
Facts. I love you. Have a great week.
Goodbye.